Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Music and Moonsalts. I am your host, Chris Bourdine, as always. And as always, I'm going to ask you right off the top, please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. Again, I want to remind people that the audio versions of these podcasts are available wherever you get your podcasts. So, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, places like that. You can listen if you don't have time to sit in front of a computer screen and watch these videos or whatever the case may be. You have the option of just listening to the audio now, which is pretty cool. So, we are back with, after taking a month off, I didn't do a rock and roll retrospective for January, basically because, for two reasons. There wasn't an album that had a significant anniversary that I really cared to talk about or really had any connection to. And I also just ran out of time. I just ran out of time. Pure and simple. I spent a lot of time working on the AJ Styles episode that I did for January, doing research and stuff like that. So I just flat out ran out of time. So we're back this month. If you missed it earlier, last week I did a review of the new Foo Fighters album, so check that out. But today we are discussing a classic album. We are talking about Rush's Moving Pictures album. Right there. You can also see it in the bottom corner of the screen. Which came out 40 years ago this month. This is a great album. Rush is a band where they're kind of in like my second tier of bands as far as I've got my top tier, which is Kiss and Foo Fighters, where I know every album front to back. I know everything there is to know about them, that kind of stuff. Then there's like the next tier, where it's like the Van Halens and the Motley Crues, where I know most of the catalog, but I have some blind spots. Def Leppard, and then Rush is probably in that third tier, I guess. It's like Rush and Iron Maiden, where I'm a fan of theirs. I've seen both in concert. And I'm sure if I ever were inclined to do more digging into the catalogs than what I already have, I would enjoy as much as what I do know. But this is one of those things where it's kind of like I kind of compartmentalized. There we go. But the Moving Pictures album is a classic album. It's one of those, to me, it's up there with your as far as I'm concerned, is up there with your Back in Blacks and stuff, and albums like that like every classic rock fan should own. I mean, just the and I'll talk about it more. Just side A of this album is just incredible. It's killer. So I actually have two versions of this album. I just actually got the actual album this month because I realized I don't have the actual album, which is weird. What I did have, and this is actually a few years ago when I started my vinyl collection. This is the first vinyl record I bought when I won a turntable, a portable turntable from a Barnes and Noble in Toledo, Ohio. I was there on a Saturday. They were doing a giveaway. I put my name in, and they called me the next day, told me I won. So I drove down, picked up my free turntable, and I was like, well, I need a record to play on it. And I picked this up. This is, so in 2011, Rush did their Time Machine tour. And on that tour, they played all of Moving Pictures front to back. So that's what this is. But back to the original. You'll see, and you'll see the front cover better on the screen there, probably. It's a really cool cover concept. It's a triple entendre, is what it is. So obviously, it's called, the name of the album is called Moving Pictures, right? So you have what you have here down at the bottom. You have these gentlemen in the red jumpsuits carrying paintings. They are moving pictures. Over here on the side, you have these people. They're very emotional, watching these paintings go by. They are moving as in emotionally, pictures. And then if you flip it over on the back, you realize the whole thing is a movie set. They're making a moving picture. Kind of funny. I enjoy that. And it's kind of cool too. So this painting here is the Starman logo from like 2112 era, and then we got the dogs playing poker painting. This one is a painting of Joan of Arc, and that's a kind of a neat tie-in because it kind of relates to one of the songs on the album, Witch Hunt. So it's kind of cool. I really like. Rush is a band that had a sense of humor about them, so this kind of plays into that. But so getting into the album, as I said, it was released February 12th, 1981, and it peaked at number 3 here in the U.S. It's their biggest selling album here in the U.S. It sold over 4 million copies. It's, like I said, it's probably their most popular album, and it's right up there in the list of classic rock albums you should own, in my opinion. Digging into the album, it's got one of the best side ones I can think of. So there's 7 songs total on the album. Side 1 has 4 songs. And they're 4 of probably the top 10 or 15. But I would say probably 4 of the top 10 most recognizable Rush songs. I mean, we kick it off with Tom Sawyer, which is probably the most recognizable Rush song of all. That Rush always makes me think of the movie I Love You Man too. So that's always a good. I just think of Paul Rudd, and he says, "Exit the warrior to Dane's Tom Sawyer," or something like he mispronounces Sawyer. It's kind of funny. The Holy Triumvirate, Rush. Anyways, but yeah, I mean everyone knows Tom Sawyer. Great song. It's got the cool instrumental section in the middle of the song, which apparently was the basis for that was Geddy would mess around on his synthesizer on tour during a sound check. And so when they're putting together the song, they're trying to figure out a middle section, he kind of busts that out, and they turn it into the middle part of the song. Another cool thing for a bass player like me, who Geddy's awesome. Geddy's another common thing with between Rush and Iron Maiden for me, the bass players are two guys that like I could never even dream of being able to do. If I could do like a third of what those guys are able to do, I'd never. They both are finger players. I'm a pick player. Like I just can't get the finger technique down. And the speed at which they're able to play with their fingers is just insane. So they both are like just they're on a pedestal for me. So, but this is the first Rush recording which Geddy Lee uses a Fender Jazz bass on. Everything up until this point, he was using Rickenbacker basses. So, and he especially specifically for this song, he decided to use the jazz bass because it had a more of a punch on the low end for the song. And then eventually he switches over, and from, up until Rush ended, he was using, jazz basses on stage and in the studio. So, and it's got, so after the instrumental section is in the middle, when it comes back into the dun 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 dun, it's got those great drum fills that everyone has air drummed to. I've done it. You've done it. You have. It's iconic. Just a great song. And then we go on, second song on the record, Red Barchetta, which it's probably in that top 10. It might be, or top 15. It's probably towards the back end, but it's one of the ones that they play on the radio a lot. This one was inspired. Neil Peart, the drummer, he wrote, pretty much all of Rush's lyrics, and he was inspired by a short story called A Nice Morning Drive, which was penned by Richard S. Foster, and it appeared in the November 1973 edition of Road and Track magazine. And it's like about like it's kind of weird. It's like it's kind of futuristic. Basically, this guy, his uncle, has this car, a red Barchetta, that he's kind of kept for his nephew, and they take it out for a drive. There's a ban on high speeds. And they go out and they break those laws, and then like floating police, hovering patrol police cars, chase them for breaking the law, and they get back to the farm away, and everything is they sit by a fire. It's really like a cinematic, I would say. Like it, you hear the lyrics and you can see the story play out in your mind. Just a really cool tune. I love the main dun 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 dun. It's one of the few Rush riffs I can play. Yeah, and it was just a really good song, I think. So third song, YYZ, instrumental track here. I believe this was on Guitar Hero 2. So one thing I didn't know until last year, listening to a podcast after Neil Peart died, I didn't know YYZ was the airport code for the Toronto International Airport. And the rhythm at the beginning, dun 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 dun, is the letters YYZ in Morse code. I had no idea. That's awesome. Like, that is so cool to me. When I found out that information, my mind was blown. I'm like, who does that? Rush does. That's who. It was they recorded this because they enjoyed they had a 9-minute instrumental track on the Hemispheres album, which came out in 1978. I'm gonna butcher this. I think it's Villa Strangiado. I believe that's what it's called. So they wanted to do another instrumental track, but a shorter one. So like I said, that one was 9 minutes. YYZ is just under 4.5 minutes long. And that's something they were trying to do. You know, all through the 70s, they were very proggy, a lot of long songs. You know, Hemispheres had a couple songs that were like way over 10 minutes. I think there's only like 4 or 5 songs on that entire album. There's 4 songs on Hemispheres. One of them is 18 minutes long. The other one is 9.5 minutes long. And then there's 2 shorter ones, Circumstances and Trees. Those are shorter, but so after that, they do Permanent Waves, and they start getting, you know, a little shorter songs, a little more radio friendly with songs like Spirit of Radio and Free Will, and now we're at Moving Pictures, and we're even more radio friendly. There's still a long song that we'll get to, but most everything, Red Barchetta is 6 minutes long. Everything else is under 5 minutes long, besides The Camera Eye, which we'll get to here in a minute. So, and it proved out dividends. Like I said, it's their highest selling album. So obviously it worked. But yeah, YYZ is, you know, it's a great song. If you see him perform it live, or if you saw him, it's so hard to think of Rush in the past tense. Like, I know they retired a few years ago quietly, and you know, and now with the passing of Neil last January, it's still weird to think of Rush in the past tense. But if you saw them perform YYZ live, the crowd especially would, you know, they, you know, bounce, just kind of bounce with the music. It's a cool little tune. So then after YYZ, we get Limelight. Limelight is probably it's my favorite Rush song. I love this song. I love, especially, I love the guitar solo. I love how when it comes time for the solo, everything just kind of, the drums and bass, they kind of just, they slow down. They're very deliberate. And it's not, I don't want to say it's simple because I don't know. I don't play guitar. But it's not, it doesn't sound like it's an overly intricate guitar solo. But it's powerful. Like, it's just, and then after the solo, they start to pick steam back up, and they sing the chorus one more time, and you know, they repeat the last line, and the outro, there's the synth in the background, and especially like the very end when they're like dun 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 boo doo 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 doo, just man, it's so I get chills thinking about that. Like I love this, the ending, the last minute, 2 minutes of that song is fantastic. I love the whole song, but especially the ending of the song is just wonderful. And this is a pretty it's an autobiographical song. You know, Neil wrote this, and I can't pretend a stranger is a long awaited friend. You know, if you see, or if you saw the documentary, which I think is still on Netflix, I think it's called Beyond the Lighted Stage. Um, you know, when Rush would do meet and greets, it would just be Getty and Alex. Neil was just like, he was very uncomfortable with the celebrity that comes along with being a well-recognized musician in a famous rock band. He really struggled with that. And Limelight is about that. Another cool thing, the beginning of the second verse is living in the fisheye lens, caught in the camera eye. It's funny because the first song on side 2 is called The Camera Eye. And then also later in the second verse, all the world's indeed a stage and we are merely players. All the world's stage was their first live album in 1976. So, kind of two cool references in that song, but yeah, Limelight's awesome. Like I said, my favorite Rush song. I love it. Side 2 opens up, and this is like their last hurrah with these long, epic songs. The Camera Eye, which clocks in at it's 11 minutes basically, 10:59. It's their last song that is 10 minutes plus that they ever produce. Right. And it's it's a cool tune too. It goes like 3 minutes before any singing starts. And it's kind of like there's different parts to the song musically. But there's a cool main riff. It's dun, 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 dun. It's really cool. Cool little riff there, and it's like there's 2 verses, and it's like there's not really a part 1 and a part 2, but like the first verse is about New York, the second verse is about London, and Neil wrote it. He walking through both cities. He kind of inspired him to write this song. So it's basically just about city life. So yeah, it's a neat little. There's some sound effects, some street noises at the beginning of the song, and then it ends with some bells, which kind of transitions into the next song, Witch Hunt. This is kind of like an eerie song. It's got like it's a heavier guitar riff from Alex. This, it's probably, Witch Hunt's probably my least favorite song on this album. There's not a lot to it, but it's not bad. It's just, like I said, there's not a lot to this one. And then the last song on the album is Vital Signs. This is a cool tune. I like this tune. This actually was the 3rd single off the album, but it's weird, like, that Red Barchetta gets played, and this one really doesn't get played on the radio. So I wouldn't have, without doing some research, I wouldn't have even known that this was a single. I don't think I've ever heard this on the radio except for, right after Neil passed last year. they did a tribute channel on Sirius XM. So I'm sure I heard it on there. But other than that, I don't think I ever heard it on terrestrial radio. But there's a cool synthesizer opening, and then a wicked cool. Sound like I'm from Boston, but just a really cool Geddy Lee bass line. It's like this cool prog reggae song. It's just it's really cool. It's a really cool tune. The line I love at the end of the oops, grabbed the wrong one. Trying to find the lyric sheet so I don't mess it up. Everybody got to deviate from the norm, and then they changed it to everybody got to elevate from the norm. So, yeah, no, I really like this tune. It's a lesser known gem, in my opinion. So yeah, and that's it. That's the last song on the album. So, like I said, 7 songs. I think the total time of the album is 40 minutes. So, nice little album there. So yeah, that's it. That's Rush's Moving Pictures. If you've never heard it, check it out. If you haven't heard it in a while, go back and listen to it again. It's worth the listen. It's one of those where you don't listen to it for a while, so you kind of forget how. It's like, is it really that good? And then you go back and you listen to it, and you're like, oh yeah, no, it is. It is that good. So yeah. That'll do it. That'll do it for today. That'll do it for February. That's it for February. We're done. Moving on to March. So I got some cool stuff coming in March that I don't know if I want to spoil yet. So I'm not going to. I'm gonna wait. Make you wait and see what's coming. But some cool stuff I'm excited about. Until then, like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Spotify, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating, leave a nice review, all that good stuff. Help a brother out. And until next time, see.